Hey everybody, this is Perch. Recently caught up with a friend who still works at Disney. I think if you've listened to this channel for any length of time, I used to work at Disney. I have good memories of that time working at Disney, despite what you might have heard on the internet or YouTube. I did not participate in satanic cults. There was no, forced gay sex weekends. At Disney, it was pretty much just a job, and it was generally a job of fairly passionate people. A lot of the people there, at least the unit of people I was with, we worked very, very hard. There was many times we were up at 3 in the morning so we could test things. It was very common that we were up past 11 p.m. so we could, go into the park post close. It was a lot of walking around. It was a lot of, hands-on, getting product in the mix and trying to do the right thing. And again, despite what you've heard a lot on YouTube, the general consensus of the group I was in was, how do we make people happy? How do we help people enjoy their time here so they want to come back and give us more money? Money is what we want. So how do we get people to give us as much money as humanly possible? And the way to do that is try and have them have a good time. At no point, and granted, this was, almost 15 years ago now. Or more than 15 years ago, come to think of it. No, 15 years. Yeah, more than 15 years ago. Shit. Time flies when you're old. Anyway, it was fine. At no point was somebody like, yeah, this thing you have here looks pretty good, but we gotta get more gay in there. We got to get more woke things in there. Let's try and, find a way to make fun of Republicans. There wasn't, it was just like, hey, we need to make money. Let's go figure out how to make money. Anyway, I was catching up with him and we were talking about, I was about to make a dumb joke there. We're talking about how we used to sacrifice puppies. No, I'm kidding. We were talking about Fantastic Four. And he knew I was a fan of Fantastic Four, asked me what I'd seen in the movie. I actually went back and saw the movie a second time. I mentioned in other videos, I'm biased. I like the Fantastic Four. I like the different eras. I really like that comic. It's one of my, I believe, I've said this casually, but I'm fairly certain it is the truth. It was my first comic. It was the first comic I read, was Fantastic Four comic, and it has a soft spot in my heart. I wound up liking the movie more the second time. I appreciate more of the sci-fi elements. I don't like Pedro Pascal, and I kind of came to the conclusion that it's less that he's in a lot of films, and it's more like I just don't like him. Something about the way he acts and him. I don't like him. I didn't like him as Joel in The Last of Us. I don't like him as Mando. He's not for me. He's confident. He's doing his acting and he's doing his bits, and it's not like it's not like this is like Pauly Shore trying to do a dramatic reading on something. It's, but it doesn't work for me. But in general, the movie, I appreciated some of the little things more. I appreciated more of the science fiction elements, and I appreciate it. So I was telling this to the guy, and the guy's like, yeah, we're really happy about it at Disney. It's making money for us. And I kind of made a joke. I'm like, oh, you mean it's not a floppy flop, 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 and, cratering in the, he's like, no, we were celebrating. It's doing well. It is profitable. And it got me thinking because, it turned off phone. I'm like, maybe I'm thinking about the internet too harshly. Maybe people aren't, going all in like crater, plummet film. Maybe that, I'm being stupid here, and the movie's actually doing just fine. But I wasn't being stupid. There's plenty of that out there. Lots of the articles, including stuff in Variety. It's like catastrophic second week disaster. And you're reading all this and I'm like, it's talking about a, multi-percentage point, like a 66% drop or just it's cratered. And it's like, that number sounds familiar. Why does it sound familiar? Well, because that's what the MCU does, including popular films in the MCU, including ones that we say made a lot of money, including, some of the bigger Avengers films, some of the Black Panther, this is a pretty standard drop. And one of the things I remember talking to the same person again, but, much earlier, like several years ago, we were talking about how one of the challenges that Disney and Marvel were trying to figure out is Marvel movies create an atmosphere of must see right away, so you're not spoiled. And while it sounds like a good thing, it actually caused troubles because it meant movie theaters had a hard time of calibrating. You had a lot of people going there opening weekend. And then you would see a steep drop off because there was this perception that I've got to see it the first, couple days or it's going to get spoiled for me. I might lose interest. So it really has this must see now kind of behavior. And you see this in the numbers. And sure enough, if you look at Fantastic Four, it does have that same kind of tone. What's strange about this is there, and it kind of happened, kind of crept in on us, is this narrative of, all the movies are unprofitable. Everything is bombing. Everything is a flop. And the metrics, and I've joked about it some in my films or in my videos, and I know other people have as well. I know this is one of the things that several of you are annoyed with Zach about, but he is correct. It is the way people are doing math for movie profitability now is insane. It bears no resemblance to anything. It has the appearance of the Dunning-Kruger effect, and I'll explain what that is in a minute if you're not aware, but it has all the kind of hallmarks of people who really don't know what they're talking about, but they're spouting off like they do, like they learned that people spend money on marketing, and so suddenly it's like, you need to do 5x marketing plus, domestic gate box office. And what do you mean the theater doesn't get all the money it makes? You mean, or the production company, you mean they have to split that with the theater? I never do this. Well, that means that every film is a flop. Well, if every film was a flop, they wouldn't keep making them. And they are still making them. And one of the big, I don't want to say gotchas, but one of the big things that nobody has been able to answer with any kind of intelligence is this idea of, yeah, if everything was a flop, and 6 years ago, we were calling everything a flop. Well, 6 years later, where are these studios getting the money from? Why are they still doing this? Do we think that, like, is this just a gigantic ass charity? It's the same. I got into a very heated argument with a, I would say medium-sized YouTuber years ago because it's like, well, all the comics are unprofitable. All the comics are losing money. DC and Marvel are losing money. They're all losing money. It's like, yeah, they're not though. They're not. The business says otherwise. Well, how do you know? You haven't seen the numbers. Well, actually I have, but regardless, common sense will tell you, what you have to believe is that these companies are losing hundreds of millions or billions of dollars in order to own the conservatives. And while everybody believes they're a unique and special snowflake and they are important in their own minds, and maybe they believe they're the only real thing in the world, everything else around them is a simulation, no matter how much you believe this about yourself, companies are not losing billions of dollars in order to make you mad or own you. They're just not. That is crazy thinking. But I remember I said a minute ago I'd explain the Dunning-Kruger effect. So what is the Dunning-Kruger effect? Well, I'm going to explain it as if I was explaining it to my daughter, because I recently did. So let's pretend for a moment that you bought a brand new video game, and you've been playing it, and you put it in, you start playing it, and after 10 minutes, you finish the first level. It's kind of a tutorial level, but you finish the first level, and you feel very comfortable at that point. You've kind of figured out how to jump and kick and punch, and you understand that the blocks have special items in them sometimes, and you go, I'm a pro. I could beat anyone at this. I am the best. I am the best at this game in the world. But then invite your friends over and they smoke your ass. Because as it turns out, they've been playing for months and months and are actually experts. They don't just think they're experts. And that's when you realize, hey, there's more than just, mastering the tutorial doesn't mean I've mastered the game. That is called the Dunning-Kruger effect. Basically, what it means is you get a tiny amount of expertise and you think you are perfect, but you don't know how much there is left to learn, and you don't appreciate or understand how skilled the real experts are. In a lot of cases, there's a curve to this where it's like your self-confidence skyrockets in the very, very beginning because you learn some of these things. They're easy and you're like, I can figure this out. This makes total sense to me. I've got it. And then you have the plummet where you realize, oh shit, I don't know anything. It's good to be confident about things, but it's dumb to pretend you're an expert at them. And that, in effect, is what Hollywood box office and the money stuff is like. The reality is movies have a lot that go into them. It is a complicated business. No matter how much, everybody wants to believe they're smart, everybody in Hollywood, There's a lot of things to it. There's production budget. Yes, there's marketing costs. There's distribution costs. Sometimes there's inside of marketing, there's P&A. You have the ultimate, streaming and licensing deals that come out of it. You have merchandise sales that come into it. You have taxes and subsidies. And those are let's just say, significant, the subsidies that come into this. There are some back-end deals that talent sometimes negotiates for themselves. There's, there still is people who buy DVDs somewhere in the world. I don't know where, but you still have a rental market. You have places like airplanes that will pay out portions of money so the movie can be had there. One of the most famous ones here in recent times was the Indiana Jones film. You remember that one that was a super flop? Well, guess what? Disney doesn't consider that a flop either. Yes, it did underperform what they thought it was going to do, but as it turned out, there was almost $80 million of additional revenue that came from travel companies like cruise ships and planes. Why? Because Indiana Jones works well for that audience, and they paid in so they could have, so they could have it. And Disney knew they wanted it. But regardless, there's a lot of things that go into movies. Anyone who tells you, well, hey, it's just, you just basically, it's a basic formula here where it's, you add up the, the production costs and you multiply by 2, and then you take the gross box office and you subtract it in half, and those are 2 numbers that have to balance out in order to be profitable. That leaves out at times 60 to 70% of the incoming, the outgoing and the incoming money. In other words, it's a complicated deal. When movies show up on Netflix, do you think that I saw somebody passionately arguing like, and now Disney's going to have to pay Netflix to show it. What are you, high? That's not how it works. Movie production companies do not pay Netflix to put it on its platform. That is not how that is the opposite of what is going on. At any rate, profitability, and keep in mind, the other part is profitability is not just about gross take. You have to factor in reach, you have to factor in impact, you have to factor in reception, because all of those things trace back to money. So all this conversation around, well, Superman's going to need to make back its production money, plus, it's at least 2x the marketing, so he did a lot of marketing, and then it also needs to account for the money that Blue Beetle lost before we can really... No, that's not how it works. And again, you guys, as much as we think some of these people are dumb, and no doubt they are dumb, and I'm talking people work in Hollywood, it is absurd to think that after 6 years of continuously losing hundreds of millions of dollars in movies, they would keep at it. You would see a dramatic shift. I saw somebody else recently who's like, well, the only answer forward here, if there's going to be any profitability in movies whatsoever, is they're going to have to slash production budgets. Do you even know what goes into production budgets? Have you factored in subsidies and tax benefits? Have you factored in back-end deals that take some of the money out of the production budget and pay it forward later? Are you aware of capitalization? Do you realize that some movies are using that? Do you know what the difference between CapEx and OpEx is? Do you know what amortization is? Do you know what all these fucking things are, you goddamn hack? Do you know what they are? Because the problem is we all start talking about the fucking financials of movies as opposed to, is the movie good? I went back to see Fantastic Four. It was good. I enjoyed it. Solid movie. Would I like some things to be different? Hell yes. I can say that about exactly 100% of every single movie I have ever watched. I always would like a few things to be different. But this one, it was entertained. I do not need to read through the annual report and go through the financials with a CPA in order to determine if I like the movie or not. And for the fuck's sake, why do you need that? Not you, the person listening to this. You, the person listening to this, is smart. You're with it. You're fine. What's funny is in this video, I will get, I can always tell, like I do a lot of videos. Generally, the majority of my videos rate between 98%, 100% likes, up to downvote. 98 to 100 is where most of them sit. Whenever I do videos like, hey, actually this math or this science that you guys are throwing around is completely and absolutely wrong. This is not how the business works. And frankly, you don't have to take my word for it. If you do even a very, very limited Google search or use ChatGPT or whatever, you will discover that, the answers are right there. In many cases, the math and the financials are also right there. You don't need to guess at them. You can find them. A lot of these are public companies. Eventually, they have to put numbers in an annual report. Yeah, but the public companies sometimes lie and hide things from the books. Yeah, then they go to jail. That is called a felony, actually. Yeah, but some people commit crimes. God damn it. God damn it. Anyway, this video will get rated lower because there's somebody out there right now is going, he sounds like a show for Fantastic Four. I like Fantastic Four. I like the comics. I liked it 30 years ago. I like it 15 years ago. I like it today. I went into the movie. I freely admit I'm predisposed to like that film. I went back to see it a second time, and I'm like, yeah, this, in a lot of ways, something I didn't say in my review of the film. That film is a love letter to Jack Kirby in a lot of ways. In the design, in a lot of speech, and kind of what they did with the neighborhoods. There's a lot of hardcore respect to Kirby that went into that film. And that makes me happy. Call me a sucker. That makes me really happy to see that level of love and respect to Jack Kirby. Because it turns out I'm a comic book fan. I know. Shoot me. Anyway, the Dunning-Kruger effect. It explains the majority of YouTube channels. So, in the end, how do I wrap this up? I guess just as my plea to all of you, unless you're the banker, unless you're in finance, unless you're a majority shareholder in these companies, try watching and either loving or hating the movie first, and then worry about the financials second. Because, to be honest, again, lots of films I enjoy were failures. The money, whenever somebody says to me, it's like, yeah, but it's not profitable, it's a flop. My answer in a lot of cases is, but I enjoyed it. I don't care. It wasn't a flop for me. That's all that matters. How about for you? Thanks for listening.